and welcome back to another Sims 4 for You build video. Fear not, my returning viewers, I have not changed my Gshade. Well, I have, but I've changed it specifically for this style of build. I haven't changed it. Like, it won't always look so like comical, like cartoonistic and animated. It's only purely because, well, I decided to build Gotham, so I had to just add that type of vibe to it. I've been thinking of building Gotham ever since I was playing around with my Gshade, because I do want to like tweak it a little bit. Like, I do enjoy what it looks like right now, and I enjoy what it looks like especially for the cinematic intros, but I do want to tweak it slightly just so it brings in a little bit of brightness, just a tiny bit. Not because I don't love the harsh shades, I love the harsh shadows, but it's like I just want to tweak it a little bit just so it can look a little bit more brownish, and literally, when I say a little bit, I mean like the tiniest bit lighter, just because I love contrast. Because again, as you guys know, I love film, and filmic things are very contrasted and everything. So I do want to maintain that contrast within my videos because they're very stylistic and everything. But I also want the lightness just a little bit specifically for the household portion, because I build with a Gshade because I think I discussed this ages ago. I never used to, but I downloaded it specifically because when I build without one, I can feel very uninspired. Ever since I downloaded one, every single time I build, I just feel this enthusiasm to keep going because it just looks so much nicer when it has a Gshade on. But I always make sure that afterwards that I take the Gshade off just to make sure that it does look appealing, even without the harsh shadows and the sepia lighting and everything like that. So this build does look really nice without the Gshade, but it looks phenomenal with the Gshade, specifically when you add the comic portion of the Gshade options when you are utilizing a Gshade. If you guys want the preset, I don't have to do that, so I can't give you it. But it's basically my normal settings, just with the comic one on top. And since it's a cinematic intro, I do utilize this other portion. I've completely forgot what it's called, but if you guys ask for it, I will comment down below what it is. Because I normally don't remember my descriptions, because I think some of you even noticed as well. I don't even remember to upload half of my stuff onto Patreon until like ages later. So, yeah, I forget about all of those things. I do what I need to do exactly in that moment, and I get it done, and then I keep it stepping. But yeah, I decided to build Gotham, and I really wanted to use that new Gshade type I had because it is such a pretty Gshade. And guys, how cool did that cinematic intro look? Like, I am proud of most of my, I think the level of proudness I have over this build, I think it goes close to the medieval one. So I made a medieval village because, you know me, I love making my multi-household lots, but I specifically like it when it inspires a new world and creates a whole new aesthetic and stuff like that. And I was really like, that's one thing that I was so excited to do with this, because not only could you make this multifunctional, so if you don't want to necessarily utilize it as a, and in case you don't necessarily utilize it as a multi-household build, you can also just input it and make it into a police station if you want, to a hospital. Not all of the functions of a police station and a hospital will be functional if you choose to make it one of each, but at least you'll have that vibe. You can even make it into a nightclub if you truly want to, because there is a nightclub in the basement floor. Now, hey, you may ask, there's a nightclub, but you didn't show it in the cinematic intro, and some of you have definitely skipped to the tour part. But you know, whatever, I get that. Sometimes you just want to go straight into the build. Some of you may have also skipped to the tour part, or will be skipping to the tour part quite soon, and are also thinking, okay, but I still have not seen this nightclub that you speak of. It's because I've discussed this in my previous videos. For whatever reason, what I used to record my Sims videos is already quite lacking as it is, because it glitches quite a bit. Specifically, when I'm doing the walls and stuff like that. But even sometimes when I get a little too outside the corners or a little too deep into the like actual build, it glitches out. So because I use the Xbox game bar on my Windows laptop, and I know that it is custom and it is right to use OBS. I used to work at a gaming cafe, and everyone there used OBS. That was the standard. That is the industry standard within gaming to utilize. So I know about OBS, but for whatever reason, regardless how many times I go through the settings, I can never get them to function correctly on my laptop. And I know it's a lot of trial and error, but it's so much trial and error to the point that I just can't, I can't anymore. Because the problem is I don't know what's wrong. I changed the KBS, I changed the encoder, I changed everything, all those types of things, but my game is always still laggy, and the footage is always even more laggy, and I don't know what to do anymore, so I just leave it as it is. And hopefully maybe one day I could potentially, I know I could contact my ex-co-workers, but I feel really weird contacting people that I don't contact very often, specifically for a favor. So I don't want to be that person, because I was always asking them for help when I was working there, because I didn't understand any sort of gaming outside of the Sims. So I don't want to be the person that, oh, hey, by the way, no, we haven't talked in like a year, but how do you use OBS? And since it's such a tricky thing to try and explain over like the phone or messages, is something that really would need to be done in person, and most of them live in London and I do not. I wish to one day, just because that is where I want to find my actual job at. I would love to work in the film industry, and I will work in the film industry. Speak it into existence. I will work in the film industry, and I would love to do that, but most of the opportunities are in London. Film and TV show industry, even the publishing industry. I am currently writing a book, but that won't get published for a decade, because this book is my baby, and I really want to make sure that I make it come out right. But so I can't just ask them to help me without talking to them for a long time. So I'm just kind of sitting here and suffering to myself. I have tried to watch a lot of YouTube videos of people talking through the settings, talking about how they do what they do. And it never helps me, because the problem is everyone has really good computers. Everyone either has a gaming laptop or a gaming PC. And you know what? I want to discuss it. I'm in no way struggling financially. Like, I say it quite a bit, like, I am not financially well off, not at all, not even in the closest, but I'm not struggling financially either. I am lucky to have my parents who provide a roof over my head, so my basic means are good. But I do not have expendable money the way that I'm seeing half these other people have expendable money. Like, when I see a lot of people, and I'm not talking about specifically Simmers, but when I go on TikTok, for example, and I scroll through and I see that all these Simmers have these really good PCs, like, I built a PC for The Sims and everything like that. I'm like, this is so cool, because first of all, Simmers have like some of the best aesthetics when it comes to building gaming computers and PCs and how they look like and everything like that. But I always think about, what do you do as your job? Like, how are you able to support this? Because a gaming PC is not cheap whatsoever, especially if you want to build it part by part. The graphics card, I don't even want to speak about the graphics card with how expensive those things are. I remember the ones at my old workplace that were like almost 5 figures. Yeah, they were like almost 5 figures. They were very expensive graphics cards. So I'm like, where are you getting this money? And because gaming laptops I can understand, because they're on the cheaper end, but even still, where are you getting this money? Because the one thing I know for sure, the one thing I really, really, really want, is that if I ever get the money, the first thing I'll get won't be a gaming PC. Sorry. The first thing I would get is a cinematic camera, because I really miss filmmaking, and I used to utilize my university cinematic camera all the time. But obviously I finished university, so I was no longer allowed to use it. Well, they said you can always come along and borrow it. And I was like, no, I want to give other people the chance to utilize it. And it felt like more of like, I'm going to say it kindly, but I don't actually mean it. Like, I'm going to say, you can borrow it, but I don't actually mean you can borrow it. Or if they did mean it, still, there's so many other, they didn't have a lot of them. So I don't want to take the opportunity of someone who actually needs to do the studies utilizing my camera away just so I can go around making my films. So I would really, really, really love to buy one. And that's the first thing I can think of to do. And the thing is, I see a lot of people that do the things that I do, like own into some variation of it. And I'm like, where are you guys? Like, okay, if you work, I get that. But even still, if you work, where are you getting the disposable income? Because everything seems so expensive. Food shopping, electricity bills, taxes, everything just seems extremely expensive. So I just constantly think when I see, well, these people with jobs and everything like that, like how are you affording everything? And because this camera that I want, it's like almost £2,000. And I do not have money to just be spending £2,000 off the bat like that. And the thing is about cameras is like you need to always get different types of accessories with them. So like gimbals or lens. Oh my God. I mean, let me not talk about lenses because lenses can be more expensive than a camera. So there is like so much that comes into it. So 2,000 for just the body is crazy. And then you have to get all the things that go inside it. So, it's like, that costs a lot of money. So how are you guys affording it? And it's not because they come from wealthy backgrounds either. Like most of them come from very like normal middle class or working class background. So I'm just thinking to myself, where did you get £2,000 of disposable income for you to just do that? And it's not like, okay, that's the only expensive thing they brought this year. It'll be like they brought that and like a car and a holiday or 2 or 3, or they've always got new dresses, or they're always like going down to London or going up to Scotland or going up to Manchester. Bear in mind, you might be thinking, oh, traveling within the UK itself, that's hardly expensive. To get a train, and I've discussed this briefly before, to get the train down to London, it is quite expensive. It's like sometimes it can be up to like £100 just for one day. You want to travel one day to London. Bear in mind, to get from the UK to like Spain or Portugal or France is like £50 or £40. It is extremely cheap. It's extremely expensive to go to a city within in your own country by train than it is to fly abroad, which makes no sense to me. But yeah, that is how the economy and how the society of the UK functions and works. But it's like they've got the money to do this, and I'm just like, how are you functioning? Because this past week, it was my mother's birthday, and I made a big hoopla about it, and I went around and I went down to my local supermarket, got all the things I needed to get her ready. I didn't get to give her a present like I would have wanted to, just because I brought her quite a big present for Mother's Day back in March. And I was like, we've got a big holiday coming up, and it wasn't, and I've got a holiday after that, so I don't have the finances to just go around like that. So I was like, okay, under £30, what can I do for her? And I decided to cook, and the entire day I was going to cook, and the entire day I was just going to go out, get all the stuff, and I was going to cook for her the entire day, everything homemade, fresh. So I baked a fresh bread, I made her a full English, and then I made her a 3-course meal for dinner, with all her favorites. I made some sauteed wings, and then I made homemade burgers with homemade fries, and homemade mushroom sauce is specifically my parents' thing, to enjoy mushroom sauce on burgers. I think it was a thing during the time they were raised in Zimbabwe. There was like this huge like craze with mushroom sauce on top of burgers. I think it's still a thing now, but it's not as popular as it once was. And then I also made her like mini Black Forest cupcake thingies, because Black Forest is her favorite cake. So I did a lot of things, and that cost under £30, and I bought decorations and a card and everything like that. And the card shop wasn't open because I had to go down into town at around like 7. So the card shop wasn't open. They don't open until 9. So I had to go into the supermarket, and cards from the supermarket will always be more expensive. And I got decorations and everything, and all of that cost under £30. I'm really happy about that. But even that, I felt like I was financially strained for the week from spending that much money. And again, I'm not financially struggling, but it was just like, I didn't feel as well. I didn't feel as comfortable, because the thing is with me, I always like having enough money that if for any reason I just need to pick up and go somewhere, I can have that money to just whatever reason. I can just pick up and go. I like having a safety net. I'm not the type of person that likes having the savings accounts at zero or having it in. It has been close to that because there was a medical issue during, was it last year or the year before? But during one of the years, during university, there was this medical issue where I had to like start working like borderline almost like 45 hours a week, both at my job and my private, my own film company, just trying like round up some experience whilst also trying to get money and do stuff like that. And I was very close to zero and that's why I ended up working like that crazily. And I don't mind working. I've said this before. I really love working, but I have been close to zero. But then from that point on, regardless, unless it's a must, I will not touch my money. And I think that's why I'm so stingy when it comes to buying stuff for The Sims. Like, unless it's an expansion pack, like the Up and Coming Love Hotel expansion pack, I will not be touching my money on The Sims unless I must. Like, for the past, I think, maybe 3 or 4 years, I have been consistently debating with myself, being like, okay, should I or shouldn't I get movie hangout stuff and bowling stuff? Because those are two of my favorite stuff packs that I've been eyeing those stuff packs. And since they were initially released, like I've always wanted them. I combined they are just £12 when there is a sale. So I don't know why my mind is just like, no, I don't want to. I can't. This is not This is not income that is disposable. Do not get this. Just utilize what you have. When I had to get Jenny for Batu, if it wasn't for Tundra, which will and is still currently going on, I'm just doing a lot of stuff with The Sims. I'm a very impulsive person. Whatever I want to do, I do there and then, and I will neglect the other things I'm supposed to be doing. But Tundra is still occurring. I still have so many beautiful, wonderful ideas for that save file. But if it wasn't for Tundra, I wouldn't have got Journey for Batu. But what's we talking about, Journey to Batu? I absolutely okay. Some of you who don't have the pack, I don't think you'll be missing too much. You'll be missing a tiny bit of the exterior stuff and like the bar in the nightclub, but beyond that, I don't think you'll be missing out anything too crazy. And this wall, the hospital wallpaper, that's Jenny Tipper too as well. But can I just talk about it? I have been for the longest, and I mean the longest time, looking for the pole lines. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, connect the electrical lines above ground. There are pole lines that connect them. And I've seen them in so many save files, in so many builds. And I've always been like, I want those things. I want those pole lines. Like they just add a sense of realism. And if I had Jenny Batu for my sci-fi, from my, what was it called? My cyberpunk build apartments thing, I would have utilized it, but I didn't, sadly. But this time around, I found it, and it was a miracle, a literal miracle, because I couldn't find where, I tried to find on Reddit, I tried to Google search it, and I was like, hey, so where are the pole lines in debug? Like, I know they're in debug. I know they're not something that is outside of debug. Where are the pole lines? And it wouldn't tell me. They were just being very obtuse and confusing. So some people were saying, is it with Jenny Batu? But I was like, I went through debug with Jenny Batu and I couldn't find them. So I was like, okay, let me go and ask AI. So I was like, hey, so where are these pole lines? And they were like, oh, Island Living. And I was like, thank you. And I went to an Island Living and I couldn't find a thing. And then they were like, Eco Lifestyle. And I was like, you know what? That actually makes more sense in Eco Lifestyle. Let me look. And I couldn't find it. But as I was clicking off of debug, I exited, so I was doing pack search, right? As I was exiting it, all of a sudden debug it's like it almost refreshed, and it showed me, like, do you know the star when you have new things added into your game? It showed me that in the debug section, and I was like, what is it showing me? And then I was like, wait, is it showing me stuff to do with Jenny Batu that I haven't seen in debug before? And I was just shocked, and I was looking at it and I was like, wait. I haven't seen these things before. And you're going to see in a second, after I do all of these traffic lights and trying to control the entire city system, how much I go ham on the debug stuff from Jenny to Batu once I find out what I've been missing. And I was like, okay. And I was looking through it and I was like, oh my God, everything here is perfect. Like, first of all, the first thing I was thinking of when I saw it, definitely got me making another cyberpunk build, because all of this stuff is crazy, but I'm not going to be making a cyberpunk build until I've done Tundra, because I want to do Tundra. But I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen these things and they look amazing. They look, I can't cope. And then as I was scrolling, by luck, there was a star next to these things that just looked like licorice. And I was like, what is this? I clicked on it and it was, first of all, it was vertical. And I was like, okay, I can potentially use tool and make it not vertical. But then I saw the horizontal versions and I was like, this is what I've been looking for. And I just went crazy with it. I added it anywhere and everywhere I could. The only issue I had with it is that I had to size it down quite a bit in order to not make it stick through different places. But then it was like, I don't care, they're there. I just wish they were a little thicker, but beyond that, they are there. And it just added to everything. It made everything look more like a city, more like, because I think Gotham is inspired off of New York. Correct me if I am wrong. And I was just like, okay, this looks like a city. This looks like a city. So yeah, if you want to know where those pole lines are, they are from Journey to Batu. What? No, Journey to Batu. Yeah, they're from Journey to Batu debug menu. And honestly, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I feel like if you enjoy my content and you love my builds, and you especially like my builds that I kind of breach outside of this kind of realm of realism, well, realism to an extent, like realism asterisks. If you like my content, that is like realism asterisks, you might need to go and invest in Journey to Batu, because I just love so much of the build stuff from that pack. Have I actually played the storyline of Journey to Batu? No, because I don't care for Star Wars. I care for Dune. And maybe one day I might like Star Wars, because I am a sci-fi person, absolutely adore Doctor Who, and Star Wars seems like up my valley. It's just I don't want to sink into anything with too much lore at the moment, and Star Wars has a lot. But yeah, I found those lines and I was just so happy. So I really liked it. But anyway, let's actually talk about the build. Let's talk about it. So the things that I've included within this build, first of all, there's so much debug stuff. One thing I'm going to say, with my PC, granted, it's not a gaming PC. I think I have about like 6 gigabytes storage free on my laptop. So it's not even like, it's so filled up, and my battery doesn't even function unless it's connected. Like, it no longer has the portability of it. Like, I have to remain stationary with my laptop. Like that's how messed my laptop is. Without a Gshade, this functions perfectly. There is absolutely no lag for me, and it functions. Because the problem is, when I make stuff like this, I always fear that it's going to have a lot of lag because there is so much debug. But the way I counteract it a little bit is that when it comes to the actual residential lots themselves, I do try and minimize it. So for example, with the sci-fi one, I did try to put as less furnishings in it because it was such a expansive build. And then with this one, I tried to do the same kind of like ideology. So you saw in the cinematic intro, one of the apartments, the luxury apartment, is very minimalistic because I just didn't want to have the excess lag within the thing, because as pretty as they are, I do want them to be functional as well. And you know what? What the hell? There is so many mods that created the cinematic intro, and they created the entire fab vibe of Gotham City itself. And let me tell you about those a little bit. So this is obviously non-CC. So everything here can function. If you don't have mod, this is perfect for console players. It is completely fine in all realms like that. So you don't need this. But if you do have the ability to download mods and do stuff like that, here are some of the things that you can download if you choose to do, to really add the whole Gotham superhero vigilante kind of vibe to it. So one of them, the key one, the almost obvious one that you guys may have sworn, really cool powering up scene, is the superhero versus supervillain mod, also known as the Armageddon mod by is it sacrificial? I think it's sacrificial. Yeah, it's the same person that's made the extreme violence mod. It's the same person that's made the Road to Fame mod. The same person that's made the Light Tragedies mod. They are absolutely an amazing modder, and they are so dedicated and so detailed, and the mods, right? They just add a whole type of vibe to the game. I don't think I could function without extreme violence in my game, even though I do not use it that often. Just because I do try and keep things a little bit PG on my channel and I don't want things to go too crazy. But I do use it when I'm playing by myself and things do get a little bit crazy in my gameplays. Like, you think my baby save file is fine, but my celebrity save file, there was a lot of crazy stuff going on within that save file. There is that, I'm not even going to discuss it because it's all kinds of crazy, maybe for another video, but there is a lot of things utilizing that mod in it, and that mod and the basemental mod and a lot of other mods. So yeah, that save file was crazy. But yeah, they are such a talented and amazing modder, and I knew there was an Armageddon mod, and I was like, initially when I saw it, I was like, this is what I have to utilize. This is what I need to almost borderline base this entire thing off of, because it is such. Okay, first of all, did you see those werewolf like porta potties? They do it. They do it. They just do it for the build. I love them. And also all these and construction things. I even add some construction paneling. And I love these things from high school years where you can just bury things off. So it's really great for like the entrance to the club area, because you actually get a bouncer that spawns in, because that door does spawn in a bouncer, which is amazing, by the way. I love that little thing the Sims did with that. And also I had so much fun with the detail menu. I had so much fun with it. But actually, I'm actually looking at it now. I don't think I showed you guys when I added in all the construction thingies and all of the pipeline thingies. Oops. Anyway, you know what? Let's continue on to talking about the mods I used for this. So also, I'm really sorry that it's quite overexposed within the hospital. I did try and make it so it was like evening time, but it was overexposed except for nighttime, and the nighttime it would have been too dark for me to showcase it, and I don't like adding lighting until I know what the room's positioning is supposed to be. So yeah, I'm really sorry about that. But anyway, so I used Armageddon mod, and I was originally thinking I was going to turn my sim into a supervillain, because this supposed to be a vigilante, and a vigilante is more on the morally questionable action side of everything. So that's what I was originally thinking. But then I was like, oh, no, you know what? The superheroes have color effects, because the vigilantes straight up look like Raven. I know Raven is a superhero, but they straight up look like Raven. And I was like, no, that's a little bit seeming too much of the mystical side. I want something a little bit more on the superhero side. So like a bit more, obviously Gotham Batman, but I was like, Batman, Superman, and there's also, I forgot her name, but she's in Kim Possible. She plays the supervillain, because I realized that later on. The Sim does kind of look like her, but yeah, I was kind of looking for that kind of combination of, it's an alien vigilante. Obviously, Superman is not a vigilante. Superman is a superhero. Batman is not an alien, but Batman is a vigilante. So I was like, okay, let me do kind of like a combination of the two, and let me just do this like alien vigilante and that kind of thing. I'll tell you guys about her backstory in a second. So I decided to use her, and it made everything perfect. I loved it. I loved it. Okay. And the next mod that I did utilize to create the entire ambiance and the vibe of this is a mod that you might all be aware of, and I was just late to the game, but it is the Control Any Sim mod. So you can click on a sim and you can click on actions, and then you can control that sim for something specific. They'll be added to your household, but then you can also remove them and they'll go back to their own household. Like, it's not a permanent thing. Like, they won't go into the abyss that is the trade folders where all the sims that you've evicted go to. They will go back to the original household, but I wanted to do that because there is I normally do a storytelling element when it comes to these builds because of my cinematic intros, but I was like, there needs to be a heavy, and I mean a heavy storytelling element when it comes to this. So I was like, okay, so how should I do this? Should I create a household with multiple Sims? And instantly my brain was like, no, because I love making Sims, but I don't like making Sims that much. And I've got this little secret project you guys don't know about that does involve me making quite a few Sims. So I was like, no, I'm not doing that. That is a lot of effort. So why don't I just make this thing, control any sim. So any sim that even went anywhere near the premises, I controlled them. They were probably feeling very confused. They were probably feeling, I have free will, now I do not. Because also when I make these things, depending on the story I want to tell, I do turn on or turn off full autonomy for my Sims. So for example, with the previous video that I did for the Booming Rooms Plus base game, I did allow autonomy on just because I just wanted to see how my Sims vibe in the house, and I was just going to record them almost documentarian style. But this was a film. This was a passion fictional project, and this required staging, direction, and everything like that. And that was only going to be achieved with Control Any Sims. So that was placing the Sims to go into the police station and sit in the desk areas. That was telling the Sims to go lie down on the hospital beds, to wait outside the nightclubs. That was all of that. Even to start fighting each other near the alleyway-esque thing next to the cafe. That was the entire, there had to be direction to create the cinematic intro because it is such a big and expansive build. But that was the other mod I used. Obviously, there is the other mod, which I have discussed briefly before in the video, the extreme violence mod. I did use that to create the criminal essence that is Gotham. Gotham always has a lot of crime. There was actually this one action I did. Now I'm in the cafe, but I did record me doing the club. But it was glitching out because me in basements, they don't like to work. So I just ended up, but I remembered from last time that it's better for me to record it than it is to not. And so I recorded it, saw if it was glitching or not, saw that it was glitching, and then decided to cut it all together from the video. So I'm so sorry about that. But if you want to see what the club looks like, why don't you go to my gallery and download it and leave me a little comment in the gallery. I don't know how to reply to you on the gallery because I get a lot of little cute comments and I'm just like, how do I reply to people on this? Because I don't use the gallery for anything but occasionally download Sims and upload my builds. I'm not a gallery person. I have no businesses. When I first played the Sims, me and gallery in the rooms, we were like best friends. But even though nothing would download because I only had the base game then. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine having the base game. You base game players, honestly, I would say, if anything, this is not becoming a Sims pack recommendation video, I promise. But I would say, if anything, just download seasons, because I don't know how you can play this game without seasons. Everything feels so standstill. It feels like time isn't moving. It feels like life isn't progressing. Even as your Sims get older, get elderly, and die, it doesn't feel like The Sims without seasons. But yeah, I think that's why the seasons will never be terribly on sale because it's just mandatory at this point within the game. But yeah, what was I talking about? We went into that. No, God, what was I talking? Guys, what was I talking about? I'm gonna kick myself about this. What was I talking about? I was talking about I didn't record the nightclub because I told you guys that the nightclub doesn't work, but I was doing the cafe then and I was talking about mods. But yeah, I'm just going to talk about extreme violence because that's what I remember I was on about for a second. I did use to add the criminal aspect of Gotham because Gotham is very crime driven. It's why Batman is so dreary and dark and gloomy, and obviously we all know about the pearl necklace and everything that happened with the Wayne family and everything. So I just wanted alleyways. I feel like Gotham is not Gotham without an alleyway. So alleyways, and then just create the crime aspect of this. And I think the thing that makes Gotham as well is that it's not your stereotypical people that look like we're doing crimes. And when I say that, I mean they're not wearing beanies, they're not wearing things that look like, oh, I do not want to be located, I do not want to be perceived. They're not wearing like masks half the time. Most of the time, they are just average people committing crimes. Like, it's anybody and everybody committing a crime. So when I saw those two tourist-looking people, Sims, that were just walking around in San Machine, I was like, hey, come along, commit some crimes in my build and add to the cinematic vibe. So they did. The person who ended up passing away at the end of the video, completely unintentional. I was actually going to leave it on the shot of the outside of the luxury apartment because I thought, okay, that is such a beautiful shot. It's an amazing shot. But then I was trying to save the game to go off the game so I can then start to edit. But then the game was saying, I'm sorry, you can't save the game. Someone's passed away. And I was like, hey, it's passed away because I'm pretty sure I clicked the non-deadly option of the beaten up tag on extreme violence. So they should not at all be like passing away until I realized. So when I don't even know what the cause was. But yeah, they ended up passing away, and yeah, that ended up creating that. And that leads me to, I believe, the final mod that I used to create the entire Gotham aspects and everything, which is the Mortem mod. So the Mortem mod, it basically gets rid of the Grim Reaper and adds like official Mortem people to come along and do the Mortem things. So they give real life instances of how Sims will either process death, deal with death. It allows you to have funerals. It gives you body bags. It gives you everything. What that mod provided for me is that it allowed me to have a media and news crew to come along to this scene. So that's what added that aspect of Gotham where like almost every single thing is being reported on Lois Lane style. Okay, again, I know Lois Lane is from not Smallville. Oh my gosh, how am I forgetting where superhero is? Oh, superhero Superman. No, Smallville is what Lois Lane calls Clark Kent, but there's Gotham, and then it's left my mind. But I do know one of the main arch nemesis for Superman is Luthor, hence why one of the characters are called Luthor. Characters Sims. I need to get out of this mental space that I'm in. But yeah, that's why one of the Sims is called Luthor. But yeah, I used the Mortem to add the media crew to come along and just basically showcase a media coverage of a passing away, which would normally happen within the game and within Gotham itself. And then, yeah, also to have someone come along and like formally assess the death. So yeah, those are the mods I used to create this. And I hope you guys, if you want to, should I make a list? I'll see. If I don't remember, tell me and I'll put it in the description. I won't comment for everyone, the list of the mods. I'll put it in the description if I forget. Hopefully I don't forget, because what I normally do is that after these things start processing and I've done all of the things and everything, I just kind of send it off to YouTube and let it do its thing. But yeah, so those are the mods I utilize. Another important aspect for this, I talked about alleyways, but another important aspect for Gotham that I really wanted to include, one, I wanted to include like the main things in Gotham. I wanted there to be the police station, because I imagine fighting crime, you're going to talk to, well, obviously Gordon's not there, but like you're going to be talking to like some type of chief there. Also, this can be a second bedroom or office if you want it to be, but I just made it into this little spare room because I imagine the Sims may want to have children one day, and this is where they will plop the children into that. But I couldn't imagine having children right now because there is lore. I'll tell you about the lore in a second. But yeah, I added the main aspects. I would imagine if you wanted to do the whole superhero vigilante story aligned with this build, that you would need. So the main one was the police station. The second one was the hospital, and then the nightclub, and then the cafe. I would imagine if it was in these specific Sims, because there are 2 apartment complexes and both a cafe as well, where it's just maybe the average Sim going along, and maybe that's where the Sim kind of like lingers. And that's why the secret identity, the double life is. But I'm going to say very quickly the lore, because I'm realizing I'm running out of time. And how have I run out of time? It's like 40 minutes of talking. But the lore behind the characters, the Sims, is that one of them is the police chief, the head detective. And what was going on in the cinematic intro is that she was questioning someone that looked like the vigilante, but wasn't necessarily the vigilante, because they thought that they were the ones committed crime, and then they ended up going into prison, but they were wrongfully in prison because it's not actually them. Who is them? Her partner is actually the vigilante, and that's who you saw on the rooftop, because there are 3 rooftops in this build, because how can you have a villain without a rooftop? Also, you can see a helicopter on the top right now. I'm going to shut up in a second and let you enjoy the tour. But you can see this helicopter with these 2 lights. What you do, they're very functional. It's very fine. It's a helicopter, it's a toy helicopter, and then it is those spotlight floor thingies we have. And I just basically risen them and then flipped them over with a tool mod and turned them on and basically did simulating that helicopter. But anyway, yeah, so it's actually her partner that is the vigilante, and the vigilante knows that she is the detective, obviously, but the detective doesn't know that she's the vigilante and she's living this whole flipped up life and everything like that. So that is the very brief lore of, is it Anne Tyler and is it Lisa? I don't know. I forgot the names. But yeah, this is Gotham, and guys, I really love it. Honestly, I love it. There's a lot of like cute little things in it, like to do with the clock tower, cracks in the road, food stalls, and there's a whole car parking complex. And guys, I know that there's not an actual like ramp for the cars to go up, but just imagination. Use your imagination. But yeah, I really enjoyed making this build. I've been doing it all week. It was a really big passion project, and I'm actually gonna kind of miss doing it. It's one of my favorite builds, and I really hope you guys like it. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you don't, that's also okay. I appreciate you staying this long and listening to all of my ramblers. Also, don't forget to leave a comment down below. I read all of your comments, the more the merrier, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye!